After years of, let's just call it disagreements, the Arizona Diamondbacks and Maricopa County seemingly have a plan together to fund the renovations to Chase Field, and a bill has been introduced. I'm Matthew Jacobson with Jacobson Sports Network. Let's go ahead and get into this. I get to finally talk about some Diamondback stuff, and of course, it has to do with buildings. I guess from my time covering the Coyotes, I can never get away from buildings. This article does come from Arizona Sports. I will link it below in the description. And Chase Field renovation plan revealed by lawmakers with Arizona Bill HB 2704. Arizona lawmakers introduced a bill Tuesday that provides the framework of how the Arizona Diamondbacks can fund renovations to remain at the Maricopa County-owned Chase Field for the long term. HB 2704 mirrors how the Arizona Cardinals use sales tax and income taxes from State Farm Stadium to fund upgrades and renovations to their home stadium. D-backs CEO and President Derek Hall told the Arizona Republic that the team has pitched a plan that would take 5% of the 5.6% of sales taxes that already exist at Chase Field to send to a fund. 0.6% will continue to fund education. The bill's primary author, Republican Representative Jeff Weniger of Chandler, and Hall emphasized to the newspaper that the bill introduced does not add taxes but redistributes them. The sales tax would only come from Chase Field, while the income taxes would be taken from employees, including those from the players. Side note, as someone who's worked at the Cardinal Stadium multiple times since 2015, not gonna lie, feels a little weird. We didn't make a whole lot of money there, but at the same time, I do understand where it's coming from, and I overall like the bill and the idea. Now, I didn't realize that this was a county-owned building until last year. It's a recent piece of information for myself, but already there are agreements in place between the Diamondbacks and the county that both parties need to put a certain amount towards renovations, and from what I can tell over the last, I think it's been like a 3-year feud, it might even be longer, from what I can tell, both sides have not wanted to put forth the amount that they are supposed to put forth, so at the very least, they could come together and figure something out. Now, it does feel a little weird. Alright, so there's 5.6% sales tax within Chase Field. That seems low, so I'm assuming they're just talking about like a county version of the sales tax, because this is obviously going through the county. The county does have certain powers over different areas. Obviously, you're within Maricopa County, because I'm pretty sure it's like 8 point something percent down there, so some of that probably has to go to the city, maybe even the state, but I actually like it coming from a consumption-based system, because if you don't want to support it, all you have to do is simply not work or shop at Chase Field, like not go to baseball games. However, the percentage does seem a little high, terminology, but 5% out of the total 5.6, and specifying that that 0.6% will still go to funding education, and considering how this state, at least as long as I've been alive, has never exactly put that much money into education, I'm not entirely sure if this is going to be that popular. I think it would have made a lot more sense if it was like 3%, so at least 2.6% was still going to education, but I think it's one thing that's going to be a little difficult to get people on board with, because as it stands, we don't exactly spend well on education. That being said, that's kind of outside of my area of expertise. I am a sports reporter, and talking about it from a sports perspective, this is a good thing that both parties are finally working together and trying to keep the Diamondbacks here, although I would never really thought the D-backs were going to relocate. Yes, before the season started, owner Ken Kendrick had some spicy comments that any reasonable person would have seen as, at the very least, a light relocation threat. However, Derek Hall did basically say, yeah, no, we're not relocating, we're not moving. At the very least, Derek Hall's been doing his job throughout all of this. Like, as someone who's covered an incompetent franchise who had a CEO that didn't know how to talk and play the PR game right, Derek Hall at least knows how to do that. But also, next to Salt River Field, we know the tribe has wanted to build an arena or a stadium there for a long time. I would have figured that if the D-backs would have lost Chase Field, they would have just built there. I never really thought they were going to leave Arizona, but it was technically a possibility, and at the very least, with the introduction of this, it shows more collaboration. And while personally, I prefer it to be private dollars going into these stadiums, when it comes to agreements like this, it's on county-owned land. It's a county-owned building. Yeah, no, there needs to be public money because it's not privately owned. Now, if the D-backs owned the land, they owned the building, completely different story. I wouldn't be sitting here having this opinion. But we are not in that world where every single stadium is privately owned. A lot of them are still owned by the public, so therefore, there does need to be public dollars going in, so long as there is still money going in to the public system as a result of tax revenues and stuff like that. So it's definitely a good step. Obviously, it's a House bill. I think it does need to get passed, and that is outside of my area of expertise. Once again, sports reporter, not a political reporter. I'm going to assume this will end up passing, and then we'll have the D-backs staying here for a long period of time, which, like I said, I never thought they were going to leave. But, again, possibilities. You don't like those possibilities. We're on the same page there. Thank you for watching. I'm Matthew Jacobson with Jacobson Sports Network, signing out.